Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Cradle News Roundup, your one-stop shop for all news West Asia. My name is Esteban Carrillo. I am head of news for the Cradle. As usual, I'm joined by my colleagues, content creator and writer for the Cradle, Karim Shami, and news desk writer for the Cradle, Fuad Itaim. So today we start with the tragic news coming from Iran of the death of President Ibrahim Raisi, Foreign Minister Hossein Amir Abdullahian, and a few other high officials, including the governor of the East Azerbaijan province, where the officials had traveled to inaugurate the water dam project with the presence of Azeri President Ilham Aliyev. Now, the deaths were caused by a helicopter crash on the side of a mountain. We have seen the videos of, when it happened, we started hearing about bad weather conditions. And then we saw the videos and we realized this is really, really bad weather conditions. There was snow, there was rain, there was such thick fog. That sadly also raises many questions, why was the route taken? There's still an investigation to be done. Right now in Iran, by the first Vice President, Mohammad Mokbeh, has become acting president. There needs to be elections in 50 days. We have all, not just here at the Cradle, not just here in the region, I would think around the world, have been shocked by this development because Raisi and Amir Abdullahian, they have been playing a very, very large role in the construction of this multipolar world that we've been hearing so much about lately. And but before we get into that, I do want to know a bit more of the details of what happened, what we know so far.
The death of Raisi is like a shock not only to the Iranians and the region, but to the whole world, because Iran plays a very important role in the current events in the world and, of course, regarding what's happening in Palestine. First, Ibrahim Raisi was the 8th president of Iran after the Islamic Revolution since 1979, and he died at the age of 63. He had 2 kids, and he was elected in 2021 as the president. He took almost 18 million votes, which accounted to 63% of total votes. And currently, Mohammad Mokbeh will be the president of Iran for 50 days until new elections are held, and so that people can vote for a new president. So what we know that Ibrahim Raisi with his delegation, including Amir Abdullahian, who is the foreign minister, they were on the borders with Azerbaijan. He had a meeting with the Azeri president Aliyev, and following the event that was held on the borders, they were opening a new dam between the two countries. Following this event, Raisi and his delegation and other 2 helicopters left the borders with Azerbaijan with a Bell 212 US-made helicopter. This helicopter was manufactured in 1968 by the US. Iran purchased around 25 of these helicopters back in the 70s before the revolution, when Iran and US were like besties. They gave them or they purchased, or the US gave them, because we know that US, as now they do with Israel, they give them the most sophisticated equipment. They used to do the same before the Iranian Revolution. Unfortunately, the helicopter dates back to the 60s or to the 70s. Iranian sources says that these helicopters were purchased in the mid-70s. So
this was the presidential helicopter.
Yeah, it was a presidential helicopters. They have 25 of them. I'm not an expert. I'm not a pilot or an expert in aviation, but clearly what we saw from the videos and from the pictures surfaced yesterday, not today, the weather was severe. The range of the site was around 10 meters. What is circulating in the news is that the pilot crashed in the mountain. The helicopter didn't fall down, maybe because the weather was severe and the pilot couldn't see. He went directly into the mountain. And we saw many of these things previously. And if we go to the history of the aviation catastrophes, we see that during these severe conditions, usually it happened in normal airplanes and in helicopters that a pilot crashes into the mountain.
So yeah, many questions remain because, yes, you say the severe weather. As we record this, really no answers out there. Maybe by the time viewers are listening to us, there might be a bit more information. But at the moment, it's just, investigations are ongoing. Just to get to the bodies, it took the rescue teams like more than 10 hours, no? Like around 12 hours, just because of how difficult it was, because of weather, because of where the helicopter landed. And initially they said a hard landing. And it was a hard landing. There were hopes that they might be alive, but obviously, sadly, that didn't pan out. And you alluded to this, Karib, that Raisi was a strong supporter of the resistance, and he held, right for he held this policy, this government policy that in Iran they described it as looking eastward.
Yeah, so basically he was behind the significant development of ties between Iran and Russia, between Iran and China, between Iran and Latin American countries. As we know, he was the first Iranian president to officially visit China in 20 years. He was a staunch supporter also of the regional resistance movements in the axis of resistance. And Hezbollah's statement of mourning early today hailed him as the protector of resistance movements. So he was directly involved in the resistance axis, specifically coordination with different factions and states in the axis. Even before his election as president in 2021, I mean, there's pictures of Raisi visiting the south of Lebanon, meeting with resistance fighters on the ground. This shows the level of involvement that he had, deepening ties with Syria, for example, particularly in military cooperation and particularly due to the surge in these relentless Israeli attacks against Syria, against Damascus.
Syria was the first country he visited after being elected. That's right. There was always these deep ties. I think we have also seen over the past 7-8 months, right, since the start of Operation Al-Aqsa Flood and the genocide in Gaza, that Iran has been there every step of the way.
Yeah, 100%. Under his term, first of all, we saw, even before the war in Gaza, we saw reports of Iranian money and weapons flowing into the occupied West Bank, something that a few years ago would have been considered unprecedented. Since the start of Operation Al-Aqsa Flood and the start of the Israeli war on Gaza, we've seen an unprecedented level of sophistication in attacks against Israel by the Axis members. The Iraqi drone operations, Hezbollah's operations in the Israeli north, the Yemeni campaign against Israel's maritime interests, and of course the Gaza resistance factions who have been fighting these invading Israeli forces. And with years of Iranian expertise, years of Iranian funding, training, weapons, again, Raisi was deeply involved in all of these things. We can't forget also that under his term, we saw the first direct Iranian attack against Israel in history, Operation True Promise, the massive swarm of drones and missiles that were fired at Israel by Iran just last month.
Yeah, exactly. This is what we're talking about now when we say, the Iranian president died. In Western media, this is being reported as the hardline president. There's some call him the butcher of Tehran. And I just wanted to bring up, everything you just said, Fuad. It kind of describes why they call him hardliner, right? Because Raisi was a president that always said, I will not put Iran's interest second. Iran's interest will always be first. And this is something he maintained from day one because, yes, he had the look east policy. But one of his first actions, as president, was to actively participate, have Iran actively participate in the Vienna talks, which lasted for almost 2 years. And they were meant to revive the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, also known as the Iran nuclear deal, which is the deal that the U.S. signed with Iran to reduce their uranium enrichment in exchange for sanctions relief. Then Trump left. Then unilaterally left. Iran said, we're going to start enriching uranium. We need to start looking for ourselves again. Raisi came to power, and he said, the U.S. kind of wanted to restart talks, and he was like, okay, we'll restart talks. But he maintained that policy throughout, which is Iranian interests first.
He didn't wait for the deal. He moved forward, regardless if he will sign a deal with the U.S. or not. Unlike Rouhani.
The reform.
Yeah, Rouhani was, all his hope was, the US, I want to make a deal with the US. This will get us a flow of cash and foreign currency. But this happened only for 2 years. I think the talks were like 6-7 years, and the fruit only lasted for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like when Trump unilaterally left, a lot of the blame with good or bad reason, is placed on Donald Trump because, he thought he could get a better deal. But then what it actually showed when Biden came to power is that this was not about Donald Trump. This is about U.S. foreign policy.
And the APAC lobby, of course.
And of course, the APAC lobby, which is really, you can't separate the two. Like, U.S. foreign policy and APAC interests, they're one and the same.
It was really demands.
Exactly. So another thing, right? So the Vienna talks, he became the first president to visit China. And then a month after he visited China, Iran and Saudi Arabia signed a historic rapprochement deal that I really want to highlight was kept secret until the day of the signing. The U.S., the collective West, I remember clearly lost their minds when this was announced. Because how can Saudi Arabia, our close friend, we having talks behind our backs with China, and Iran of all people, Oh my God, the pearl clutch in that day at the White House must have been very intense.
Yeah.
Then, yes, he visited Latin America. He went to Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Cuba. For the first time, an Iranian president visits the three nations in over 7 years. He signed 35 cooperation agreements. This Look East policy obviously didn't just extend until, the Far East Asia. It went all the way to Latin America. Because, and this is going to be, a recurring theme throughout this episode, the interests are aligned. The interest of the axis of resistance, the interest of Iran, of Russia, and China, and the global South, really, They all recognize we have something in common, all of us. So Raisi really recognized this, and he signed dozens of cooperation agreements. His government also secured a historic defense deal with Bolivia to sell them drones to combat drug trafficking. And Amir Abdollahian, a man that is, a diplomat among diplomats, was sadly a diplomat among diplomats. He also when he went to Nicaragua a few months earlier before this trip, he held a meeting with senior army commanders to expressly discuss bolstering military cooperation to counter U.S. influence in Latin America. Iran was playing a very dangerous but very smart game and a long game, right? He was becoming Raisi, and by extension Amir Abdollahian were becoming a bit of a stone in the shoe of Western powers. Then a month later, I'm just going through the list here really. A month later, he visits in July 2023. He visits Zimbabwe, Uganda, Kenya. Again, signs dozens of cooperation agreements. Iran joins the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Iran joins BRICS. He reaches a prisoner exchange deal with the U.S. late last year that saw the release of $60 billion in Iranian oil revenue funds, exactly in frozen funds held by South Korea. And he has a very great quote when this happened, because when this happened, the U.S. was saying, we will very closely monitor where this money is spent. It can only blah, blah, blah. And then he came out and said, this money belongs to the Iranian people, and it will be spent for the benefit of the Iranian people. And so this is the man we're talking about. This is the hard line.
So this tells us that Iran is a very important country because everybody is talking about multipolar world. But what is actually the multipolar world? We have only three key countries in this multipolar world, or the three key countries that are working for this multipolarity, which is China, Russia, and Iran. So Iran is a very, very important country, and what happened in Iran we will see. Maybe many people will try to benefit from it or try to harm Iran. Unfortunately, what I'm seeing in a short and long term is that the only beneficial of what happened is Israel, because if Israel did the crash, it's a very successful operation, and if it didn't do the crash, the propaganda and the power of Israel will portray in the heads of the people that we did this and we are stronger than the Iranians, and now we won. Killing a president is far more important than targeting our country with drones.
I mean, we can't prove it, but none of us can.
Yeah, we can't prove it. I don't think Israel
can put it past them.
I think Israel is weaker than doing this. They're not incapable. They have the capability, but in this situation, I don't think they have the words to do such thing. But many people will think that Israel did it, and they will give a full score for Israel, although I don't think Israel did anything.
So I think we do need to get into this a bit more in the question of did Israel have a hand in this? Now, with the facts we have at the moment, and with the video footage and with the accounts, it does look like an accident. You know, it does look like a very, very unfortunate accident. But as we know, in geopolitics in particular, there's hardly ever really a coincidence. So we already listed kind of what Raisi himself represented, and also what Iran had kind of become, right, to the resistance, to Russia and China, etc., to the global south in general. There's one thing that to me really jumps out, you know, and it kind of bothers me. And maybe I'm wrong, and please, you know, leave in the comments. We love to hear from our viewers. We don't often say this, but we do. We always read your comments, and we want to know what you're thinking. So what jumped out at me was that the day before this happened, because this happened on Sunday, Iran confirmed that they were holding secret talks with the U.S. Secret talks, you know, like they just weren't publicized. They were held in Oman, mediated talks, to avoid a larger conflict from the genocide in Gaza. Because just last month, as you said, Fuad, Iran, for the first time ever, launched an attack on Israel. And what did Israel do in response? We're really still asking ourselves. Well, it's exactly nothing. Close to nothing. As close to nothing as you can get. So when this happened, and it happens the day after Iran says, yes, we've been holding touch with the U.S., and it comes a few days after the president of the Iraqi Kurdistan region, this well-known Western stooge from the Barzani family, visits Iran, you know, sits down with Khamenei, and just kind of all... And okay, so the Iraqi Kurdistan region is a well-known Mossad hub. Azerbaijan is well known for its defense ties with Israel and the Mossad. You know, the question is there. The question looms very large. And I don't know what you guys think about this. I don't know what your takes. I don't know what, you know, like questions you still have about it. But to me, it really is the thing about the U.S.
All what you said, they are facts. And of course, the whole West, not only the United States and Israel, will be happy to see what happened in Iran. And I don't think, as I said, I don't think they have the balls or the reason to kill the Iranian president at this time. They might kill like a commander in the IRGC. They can bomb
like they often do.
Yeah, like they often do, because what's the benefit of killing the president of a country? It's an act of war. And if they did it, and the Iranians or the Russians, because they offered the help to investigate the crash, and Russia is very good in doing that. If they knew that it was like not an accident, so what Israel will be doing is like declaring or forcing Iran to declare war on Israel, and I don't think Israel is ready for that.
But I mean, they did bomb their consulate in Damascus.
Yeah, they did.
That was a huge escalation, and they have a list of
considered their sovereign territory.
It was not they didn't bomb the president or a minister. They didn't kill the president or a minister, and they did it outside Iran. So I don't think Israel did it.
I mean, there's also the fact that three helicopters were in that convoy, and Raisi's helicopter was the only one that didn't make it out. So, I mean, that raises a few questions as well.
I understand that, but from what I saw and thick fog, I think if Israel or anyone is responsible of what happened, or if it was staged, I think the guy or the person that gave the okay for the helicopter to travel is the one responsible. I don't think something happened from within the helicopter, because since ages, anybody can know within like 24 hours if there is like a residue from an explosion or from any rocket. It's easy detected inside a crashing aircraft, whether it's an airplane or it's a helicopter. So that's what I see. But I told you, everybody will say Israel did it, and Israel would take that credit. And now, of course, the Israelis are very happy, and including people that are with the resistance. They are saying Israel did it. Although there's no evidence, and unfortunately in Iran, you know, from previous incidents, you have to wait like for at least 6 months or 1 year to know what really happened. So this also a bad thing for the Iranians.
I mean, I definitely wouldn't put it past them. I mean, it's something they've definitely benefited from. It's something their media outlets are celebrating. Also, I mean, first of all, Yedioth Ahronot, the Israeli newspaper, the first thing on their paper this morning was Butcher of Tehran destroyed. And in fact, yesterday, Israeli media might have been the first people to say confidently, Raisi has been killed and the rest of his team were killed in the crash.
Yeah, because maybe, I see the points here, obviously, and I do think there is the danger that Israel is going to walk away with a public relations victory, among the people that would be happy for what happened. And, but yeah, right, like Israel right now, over the past couple of days, has been mired in protest, in, like officials going at each other, calling for Netanyahu's ousting, and giving Benny Gantz gave a deadline. All topics, sadly, we can't get into in this.
Also facing heavy losses inside the Gaza Strip.
Embarrassing losses. Yeah. Inside Gaza is become embarrassing for the Israeli army. So it does also come kind of like at a convenient time for them. Knowing the Iranians, sadly, we're probably going to have to wait at least a few months.
But I know the Iranians, they are reckless, okay? And they have an instance which happened back when they retaliate against Soleimani's assassination, when they targeted Ain Assad base in Iraq. And in the same moment, they thought that American airplanes attacking Iran, and they downed Ukrainian civilian airplanes. So they have this recklessness. And of course, we saw the helicopter is, as I said, is like either manufactured in the 60s or 70s. Today, now, we are in 2024. It's almost 50 years or 55 years old, this helicopter. And we saw that there was other condition.
There was a lot of talk in Western media yesterday about how poorly kept and managed the Iranian Air Force is. They were really hammering that point.
It is. It's a fact. So you have the president of Iran and the foreign minister, and the other two guys are also important. One of them is a deputy for Khamenei. They are in the same helicopter, which is a very old helicopter. They are traveling in the worst weather condition I have ever seen. Maybe in the South Pole, I haven't seen this thick fog and this wind and everything. Nobody thought to call, we can postpone it, we can go by land, we can change the route. I think it's a pure recklessness. The incident is a pure recklessness from the Iranians. And because Iran is a very important country nowadays, and because it's trying to fight Israel from time to time.
Spearheading the fight.
Yeah, spearheading the fight. And this happened. Of course, the West and Israel will benefit from what happened, maybe only emotionally and politically. Because I also see other countries believing that Israel did it, and they will be more afraid from Israel and will say, Israel is still capable. Let's do relations with Israel. Let's ditch Iran. Maybe Saudi. Because usually Saudi Arabians, they think like this. They like to go to the stronger. They swing between the stronger. And because the strongest country till now is the United States, they are still in the pocket of the United States. When they try to go east a little bit and they saw what happened, I don't think they will have that intelligence or anybody will tell them what happened. So only time will tell us.
Yeah. Well, in Iran, we see that there's a clear line of succession, that this doesn't feel like the type of seismic event that would plunge the nation into chaos, for example, right? Because Iran is often the target of color revolutions.
Yeah. We heard what Khamenei said yesterday. Also, state administration will not be affected.
Exactly. So, and we see that. There's already an interim president. There's already an interim foreign minister.
Yeah.
And, what the last thing I just want to bring up here, because I think it's very important, and it also goes to this idea of Raisi being one of the leaders of the new multipolar world order, and it's the summit that Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin held last week, a few days ago. And in their closing statement, they specifically expressed their firm commitment to working together in BRICS and in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, where Iran is also a very, very big part of. And then the two leaders, they talk about building a new world order, essentially. They condemn the hegemonic Western rules-based world order that we live in, the sanctions in particular. And they talk about the future. They talk about expanding collaboration in military terms, in economic terms. And all of this under the idea that it's not going to be just Russia and China. It's Russia and China opening up a new pathway for everyone, really, from everyone in the South, like at the rally against neocolonialism. What are we seeing in Gaza right now? What are we seeing in the Sahel, in Western Africa? We are seeing these nations rise up, right? Even in these French colonies, somewhere off New Zealand, I forget the name, that there's been these huge riots over the past couple of weeks. Why? Because people want independence. Because the natives want independence. What are the Palestinians, right? And with that, I think we can close for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. Please make sure to subscribe, to leave a like, to share this video, and to follow us on Instagram, on Telegram, on X. And if you're feeling generous, please check out our Patreon page. For the Cradle News Roundup, my name is Esteban Carrillo. I have been joined by Karim Shami and Fuad Itaim.